morning, DFS Army. It is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with another Prize Picks video where I give you my 5 favorite picks over at Prize Picks. Again, it's just over under on fantasy points or single entry stats, as in points, rebounds, and assists. It's extremely easy to do. It's a lot of fun. And we got a few here that I really like to get on these lines early. It's 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time here. I think we jump on these things. And if you like these videos, hit that thumbs up button for me, subscribe to the channel, and definitely turn on that notification bell, especially for these Prize Picks videos, because once they go up, the lines do move. And if you want to tail with me in some of these, you might want to jump on them sooner rather than later. But with that, again, I'm going to show you the website version, but they do have the mobile app as well on the App Store and Google Play. So head on over and download those as well. And again, we got a nice 6-game slate on our hands. Let's just jump right into it, and I'll talk about the plays. All right, as you can see, we have the website version up here. I already have my 5 plays up as I talked about it. Now, this is pretty early in the morning, so we don't have the single stats up quite as yet here. We just have the regular fantasy points here. So I try to get this up early so you can kind of see that, maybe get on some of these lines before they move throughout the day. But again, if you want more Prize Picks, if you want more plays, we have a specific room in our DFSArmy channels that talks about Prize Picks all day long, be it college basketball, NHL, esports, when PGA's around, DFS up north throwing some PGA things around there. So there's plenty of other picks in there outside the ones that I'm just giving you out here for free. If you head on over and sign up, use promo code CashCake, jump in there and get those picks and win some money here. So again, I'm just going to go through the 5 that stood out to me this morning after doing some research and going through the NBA First Look video. And these lines look a little soft here. So again, I'm going to go through my top 5 and rate them and just kind of talk about why I like them. First one here, Moran over 38 fantasy points. I think this is extremely low. To me, this should be easily into the 40s here. I don't think it should be sitting here. This is a really high over-under. It's the second or first highest over-under on the slate. No, it's the highest over-under on the slate. Memphis is favored by 1. Who do you think's going to do that scoring? Grayson Allen's not there stealing shots. This is just way too of a line. I think this is a spot where we could see the Ja Morant ceiling game, where we get into the, in the 50s here. I just like this over a lot, even though going up against Westbrook and Beal, I just think this is going to be a ceiling game. We're going to get a lot of points out of him. So I like this Ja Morant over a ton. And I'm going to go with his running mate as my number 2 pick here. Jonas De Valencianos over 35 fantasy points. Again, Washington has nobody that can stick with him. I talked about a little bit in the First Look video that we could probably see some Robin Lopez against him. He's probably their best suited center out of Mo Wagner, Alex Lynn, and Robin Lopez to go up against him. But Joe Val's just way more talented than all 3 of those guys. So I think he's going to get it done here. I think this is an easy double-double for him. Throwing a few blocks, maybe it's a 20-10 kind of game with plenty of upside with assists and blocks and steals. So I think this is, again, too light. This should be in the 40s for both of these guys. So I want to jump on the over on both of these guys early. And again, if you want to look at Westbrook and Beal, they're both closer to 50. And I don't mind taking a shot at Westbrook over 49 fantasy points. He's not in the top 5, but we're just talking about it. I do like that as well. Heading down here to number 3. Now this one, maybe you want to put Westbrook instead of Butler, but Butler over 42 points, fantasy points going up against Atlanta. He is questionable this game, so this pick really depends on if he's going to play or not. But again, if he does suit up, 42 fantasy points going up against Atlanta, he's been putting this team on his back. So 42 seems extremely light. Going up against Atlanta, he should be able to do whatever he wants against this team. 42 fantasy points seems way too low. Jimmy Butler over his last 2 games he's played, 57 and 61 fantasy points going up against Utah and Toronto. So if this game stays relatively, competitive, where, Miami's only favored by 3.5. So if he does play here, I love this, Jimmy Butler over 42 fantasy points. We could see a 50 burger easily here. So again, Jimmy Butler over 42 fantasy points. The next one here, the next 2 are unders. And for me, They might not be so popular, but at the same time, I'm going to give you the reasons why I'm under here. So the next one, I'm going to actually go Demar Derozan under 41 fantasy points. Now, the reason why I like this under here is the line movement's been moving towards the Knicks here a little bit. And, you know, with the Spurs, they are on a back-to-back. They are in a back-to-back 3 and 4 situation. I don't think that they're going to run DeRozan or LMA or the older guys out there more. So I think it's going to be more of the younger game, like Murray and some of the younger guys that are going to be out there. So I'm going to just lean the under here in DeMar DeRozan. I went and looked at his back-to-back game logs, you know, over the last year or so, and he's only scored 23, 6, and 27 fantasy points in those back-to-backs. And I just don't think Pop's going to run him out there as much minutes to get this, you know, 41 fantasy points. And now he's been doing really well. If Keldon Johnson comes back again as well, I think that's just going to take away a little bit of his production. I know the Spurs are hurting for bodies right now because of the health and safety protocol, so I do get that. But if Keldon Johnson does play in this back-to-back, then maybe that hurts some of his minutes. Or if the Knicks kind of just take it to the Spurs, which wouldn't surprise me on this back-to-back 3 and 4 as well, then we probably won't see a ton of DeRozan. So I'm just leaning the under here just on those facts. And the fifth one here, again, isn't probably going to be very popular as well, but this is a really big number. Jokic coming off a monster game where he put up, you know, damn near 80 fantasy points, 77 fantasy points against Chicago. It was a perfect matchup. Chicago's front court is absolutely trash. So I understand that completely. Now, going up against Milwaukee, this should be a good game. Don't get me wrong, but again, we're talking about a back-to-back here. You know, Jokic did play quite a few minutes last night, where he played 38 minutes last night, and they just absolutely, again, smoked, you know, 77 fantasy points is just ridiculous. But again, 38 minutes, how many minutes are they actually going to run him out there? I went back and looked at some of his back-to-backs, you know, and they did run him, you know, pretty decent minutes, 30, 42, and 37. But he's only hit this over number once out of his last 5 back-to-back games. Again, it's just a really high number. Could Jokic do this? Absolutely. But I'm going to lean that he doesn't quite get there and lean the under. And with all the guys back for Milwaukee, looking at Drew Holiday, you know, Middleton, Giannis, I think these guys are just going to get it done, and that's why I'm going to lean the under here to Jokic. I like Jokic today. It's just that's a high number for a guy that's coming off a back-to-back, and I'm just going to say he slightly doesn't get there, and so that's why he's the number 5 confidence pick, and it's why I'm doing him like this. But again, with no single stat entries here for me to go off of and just fantasy points, that's where I'm kind of leaning. I'll go through a few more of these that kind of stood out to me, but didn't make the list. Paul George, I kind of like the over 41 fantasy points there a little bit. You know, scrolling down here a little bit, I kind of like the bounce back game for Dragic over 22 fantasy points. That's another one that I kind of liked a little bit as well. Again, you know, scrolling down here a little bit more. Jamal Murray, I think if I was going to have to take a chance on a guy, I think I would lean the over on 39 fantasy points there. Looking through this a little bit more, what we got here, you know, maybe Chris Paul over 36 fantasy points against the Lakers, but I don't love it. But those are a few guys I would just look at if you didn't like some of those first 5. Some of the guys that I was kind of eyeballing, but didn't make the top 5 for me. So if you like these videos, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you can get these videos when they do come up. I'm going to upload this soon. And be on the lookout for the prop bet video. I'm going to start working on my props this morning and that NBA first look that I dropped right before this. So with that, I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's crush this 6-game slate, and I hope that you make some money today. I will see you on the flip side. Deuces.